Thank you so much for my generous introduction. And I will take just a minute or two for sharing my PPT, and then I will start. Okay. A very pleasant morning to all of you, and I trust that everyone is doing well during the prevailing situation of COVID. I am Dr. Jayaprakash Misra, presently working as Assistant Professor in the Department of Mechanical Engineering, Indian Institute of Technology, BHU, Varanasi. First of all, I just wish to convey my sincere thanks to the organizing committee for inviting me to deliver a talk on this topic, that is application of DOE or design of experiment technique in electrospark erosion machining. And actually, our country is passing through a rough phase nowadays, and this our academic institutes are not an exception to it. So organizing such an event in this present situation is really a matter of great applause. So kudos to the organizing team for managing such a great event. And I also wish to convey my sincere thanks to Professor Rao for mutually interchanging the session for my convenience. So from last 3 days, as per the schedule of this FDP, from last 3 days, number of lectures have been delivered on optimization techniques, and especially a talk has been already delivered by Professor Rao on design of experiments. Today, in this session, we'll discuss about the application of DOE technique or design of experiment technique in an advanced machining process or advanced machining technique, that is electrospark erosion machining process. Electrospark erosion machining is basically a class of metal removal technique where a series of electric spark plays this crucial role. This electric sparks generates large amount of thermal energy for a very short time span or very short time period, and removes the metal by melting and vaporization. Okay, and the design of experiment, or you can say that in short DOE, it is also called as experimental design technique, was employed to successfully plan and execute the study of an electrospark erosion process. Okay, so what lies ahead? We'll discuss about this topic during my discussion. First, introduction, then it is followed by brief outline of the design of experiment technique. Okay, and then we'll discuss about electrospark erosion machining process and a brief outline of EDM process. EDM stands for basically electric discharge machining. Okay, then it is then after that we'll discuss about the electric discharge coating, that is an extended application of electrospark erosion process. It is followed by discussion on application of DOE technique in electric discharge coating. That time we will discuss how a DOE technique helps us to perform the experimental investigation leading to a scientific conclusion. Then, if time permits, we'll discuss wire electric discharge machining, another extended application of electrospark erosion machining, and or how a DOE technique can be applied on WEDM process. And finally, conclusion will be highlighted and few guidelines will be briefed for future research. So before going into the details of this discussion, I wish to acknowledge the support received for accomplishing this research work. In my opinion, it is really difficult to carry out experimental investigation all alone, and a dedicated research team turns it into a cakewalk. So I wish to acknowledge the contribution of my mentors, colleagues, and research team to execute this research work. Okay. Coming to the introduction part, this term, the design of experiment or DOE, this is also called as experimental design, basically comprises of two words, experiments and design. And if we check the science dictionary, the definition of experiment or experiment can be defined as a test or a procedure carried out under controlled conditions to determine the viability of a hypothesis, determine the validity of a hypothesis, or to make a new discovery. Okay, experiments are performed by investigator or researcher or experimenter, you can say experimental, either to discover something about a particular process or a particular system, or to establish a hypothesis. Experiments are basically tests or a series of tests in which purposeful changes are made to the input variables to observe the changes in responses or output parameters. Experiments result in data that may be processed for information or knowledge about a process or a system. On the other hand, if we consider the second word, that is design, uh, as per World English Dictionary, the term design can be defined as, a design means the process to work out the structure or form of something as by making a sketch, outline, pattern, or plans. Okay, so we have to design, we have to plan the experiment for getting a better outcome. That is the conclusion of, in this, if we try to conclude the design of experiment in a single word or single sentence, we can conclude that the experimental design or design of experiment means we have to plan our experiment in such a way that we can reach or we can achieve a better outcome or better output. Okay, so let's consider a simple example. Suppose a metallurgical engineer is interested in evaluating the effect of two hardening process, oil quenching and salt water quenching on aluminum metal. We are very much familiar with this quenching term. Quenching means basically heating an object to an elevated temperature and dip. Then after that, we have to dip that sample in a quenching media like oil, salt water, or brine solution, or ice water to change the change the cooling rate, or for a faster cooling rate or rapid cooling rate, so that as a result, if we consider it for mild steel or steel, we will get martensite formation or martensite structure on the outcome or the final object. So we are very much familiar with quenching or quenching concept of quenching. So I am not going into details of this quenching. So I'm just directly coming to this example. Let us consider a simple example that metallurgical engineer is interested in evaluating the effect of two hardening process. One is oil quenching and second one is salt water quenching. Okay, on a aluminium bar. Okay, so the motto or the objective of this study of this example is to identify which quenching media, whether oil quenching or salt quenching, provides the maximum hardness to the work sample or aluminium bar. Okay, as we consider this simple experiment, as we consider this simple example, a number of questions may rise. For example, as these two solutions, oil quenching and salt water quenching, the only quenching medium, okay, no quenching media is available or can get a or can provide better result. Are there any other influencing factor beside this quenching media? We are looking for maximum hardness on a aluminium bar, so only the quenching media is influencing factor, no other factor can influence this thing. How many samples should be tested in each quenching media to get the better result? Sequence of test run. Okay, sequence of test run, and what data should be collected, what method of data analysis should be used, or how much difference will be considered as significant. So we must have answers of all these questions, or and perhaps many others, before actual information or before starting the actual experimental study or before starting the actual experimentation. In any experimental investigation, the conclusion or final outcome depend to a large extent on the procedure of experimentation. Suppose the metallurgical engineer in the example discussed in the previous slide used specimens from one temperature for oil quenching and different temperature for salt water quenching. Now when the average hardness is compared, it will be difficult for him or difficult for any investigator to conclude which one has most influence, the quenching media or the temperature. Okay, for example, if you consider the example of mild steel, normally the quenching process is done. Before the quenching process, if we consider mild steel, we have to heat up the mild steel sample above the heat up the mild steel sample to the austenitic zone, and that is above 723 degrees centigrade if for electrolyte still. Okay, and we have to follow the same, or we have to maintain the temperature for all the samples, same temperature for all the samples, if we wish to find out the effect of quenching media only. But if we try the quenching process for at different temperatures, then it will be difficult for us to uh, conclude which factor is most influencing, whether that working temperature or the quenching media. Okay, so now when the average hardness is compared, it will really difficult for the investigator to conclude which one has most influence, the quenching media or temperature from which it is quenched. Moreover, it is nearly impossible to deduce the percentage contribution of these two factors. It is really impossible. It is really impossible to deduce the percentage contribution of these two factors. This is quenching media or the temperature from where it is quenched. So experiments are basically used to study the performance of process or a system, and you usually visualize the process as a combination of machines or methods, man, or you can say labor or human intervention, and other resources that transform input parameters, or you can say raw materials, into some observable outcomes. Some of the process variables are controllable and some are not, and those are termed as uncontrollable factors. Okay, the objective is to identify which variables are most influential on different responses. Therefore, for this process, for the purpose, it needs a strategic planning to execute the experimentation, and this planning is planning is famously known as, or popularly known as, design of experiment or experimental design. So coming to the design of experiments part. Now coming to the design of experiments. What is design of experiments? And first of we will discuss the definition, and then I will go into details of this thing. Design of experiments means how to design an experiment in the sense that how the observations or measurements should be obtained to answer a query in a valid, efficient, and economical way. Should be obtained to answer a query in a valid, efficient, and economical way. Okay, so that is the concept of design of experiment technique, and it is a strategy to gather empirical knowledge. This empirical knowledge means the knowledge based on the analysis of experiment data, not on theoretical models. Okay, and it is specifically, the DOE is specifically designed to address complex problems where variables may affect responses, and beside this thing, two or more variables may interact with each other. That means parameters or factors are having interaction effects. So that is the main purpose of employing design of experiment technique, that it will answer the query in a valid, efficient, and economical way, first thing. Then it will gather empirical knowledge, and last one, that it will address the variable effect of variable on responses, and beside this thing, it will also inform us about the interaction effects of parameters or variables. Okay, so an engineer or a researcher or an investigator may follow different approaches to perform the experimentation, and the approaches generally employed for final conclusion are listed here. Like best case approach, it can be best case approach for performing the experimentation, one factor at a time approach for performing the experiments, or factorial experiments. Okay, so we should start with the first one, that is best guess approach. In this approach, a combination of factors is arbitrarily chosen for performing experiments. We have to choose the factors arbitrarily for performing the experiments and see what happens or what is happening. And this approach sometimes works reasonably well, as an investigator or researcher or the experimental often have a great deal of knowledge and practical experience about the process or the system. However, this process is a drawback, and the drawback is that, however, this approach creates many a problem. First, that suppose the initial best guess does not produce the desired results, the investigator has to perform the experiment with a new set of parameters, and the action could continue for a longer period. Okay, with a longer period. And moreover, after performing a number of experiments, it is really difficult to get the best option after performing a number of experiments. That is the problem with best guess approach. Second, suppose the initial best guess produces an acceptable result, and the investigator is tempted to stop the testing process, although there is no guarantee that the best solution is identified. So these two problems may occur, or we may experience if we perform the experimentation following best case approach. The next approach is another approach, is one factor at a time approach, or it is also, or in short, it is OFAT. It is also termed as OFAT, one factor at a time approach. This approach basically consists of selecting a starting point or baseline level for each factor, and then successively varying each factor over its range with other factors held constant at the baseline level. So suppose for a chemical reaction, or suppose for this the previous example, that hardness can be, the hardness of the aluminum bar can be controlled by quenching media. First thing, the temperature from where it is quenched. Okay, so we have to vary these two parameters one by one when other parameter kept constant at the baseline level. Okay, so that is the concept of one factor at a time approach. After the experimentation through one factor at a time approach, a series of single factor graphs are constructed to demonstrate how the response is affected by different factors. And the major drawback of this technique is, or this approach, is that it fails to consider any possible interaction between factors. This one factor at a time approach is one of the best options for performing the experiment if we are only considering the main effect of parameter. Okay, but if parameters are having interaction effect, then this approach fails to produce the outcome or produce the effect of, or interaction effect of parameters or factors on responses. Okay, so next, coming to the next approach, that is factorial experiments. And the correct approach to dealing with several factors, if several factors are employing in an experiment or in a study, the correct approach to dealing with those factors is to conduct factorial experiments. This is an experimental strategy where factors are varied together, not one by one like one factor at a time approach. Okay, the factors are varied together instead of one at a time, and factorial experiments can be conducted following that either two approaches, or two, you can say two sub approaches, either full factorial approach or fractional factorial approach. Okay, I'm coming to it. What is full factorial and what is fractional factorial? Suppose an experiment is to be conducted with 4 factors, each varying at 3 levels. Okay, so we have to perform an experiment, and that experiment is having 4 significant factors, and we have to vary those factors each at 3 levels. Okay, as a result, we have to perform 3 to the power 4, or we can say level to the power factor. Okay, so 3 to the power 4 number of experiment to cover up all the possible combination or all the possible experimental runs. Okay, so it means sometimes it is time taking and associated with high cost if number of factors or level is more than 4 or 5. For example, if it's 3 to the power 4, that means near about 81 experiment we have to perform to get the outcome. Okay, but if the raw material is costlier one, then it will associated with it is associated with high cost. Moreover, performing 81 experiment is really a time consuming phenomena or time consuming event. So this process, this full factorial process, that means full factorial means we have to we have to run all the possible combinations, all the possible experimental runs. So sometimes this concept or this approach is time taking and associated with high cost if the number of factors or number of levels is more than 4 or 5. Okay, then fractional factorial comes into picture. This approach comes into picture. Fractional factorial approach is basically a variation of the basic factorial approach. This is a class of full factorial approach where only a subset of the runs is tried to draw the conclusion, not all the possible combination. Not we have to, in case of fractional factorial, no need to perform all the experimental runs or all the possible combinations. But beside that, instead of that, we have to perform a subset of experiments. Okay, and the subset, and this subset is so chosen that is able to generate same result if the experimentation is attempted with full set. Okay, so that is the concept, or that is the beauty of fractional factorial. Okay, so I'm just coming to conclude this slide. The first approach is best case approach, and it is basically we have to choose the factors arbitrarily. Okay, it is less time taking or less time consuming, less cost is associated with it, but employing a best case approach is really difficult to get the actual outcome or best outcome employing a best case approach. Next step is one factor at a time approach, in which we vary one factor at a time when other factors are kept constant at the baseline level. And after that, we have to draw a number of single factor graphs, and from that we can conclude the effect of responses or effect of parameters or factors on the responses. Okay, but in case of one factor approach is suitable or appropriate if we are only dealing with if we're only looking for the main effect, not the interaction effect, because in case of one factor at a time approach, interaction effect are not considered, interaction effect of factors are not considered. Okay, for disclosing or for exploring the interaction effect, we have to perform the factorial experiments. Two approaches are there, full factorial and fractional factorial. Full factorial, where we have to perform all the possible combination or possible experimental runs. Fractional factorial is that where a subset of experiment we have to perform. Okay, and that subset is so chosen that is capable to produce the same result if we perform the experimentation with full set of experimentation. Okay, so moving on. Now coming to the need of the necessity of a DOE technique. Basically, it is this DOE is attempted or it is applied to improve the process yield first thing, then to reduce the variability and closer conformance to nominal or target, to reduce the development time, and to reduce the overall cost. So these are the actual need of DOE technique, or why we need DOE technique for any experimental study. We have to improve the process first. We have to reduce the development time or actual time period taken for the performance or experimentation, and to reduce the overall cost. Okay, so three basic principles are there for performing or for application of DOE in an experimental study, and these are the three basic principles of DOE technique. First one is replication, then second one is randomization, and third one is blocking. Okay, what is this? I'm coming to it. By the term replication, by this term replication, we mean a repetition of the experiments. Okay, let us assume 5 samples. Let us consider the example, that example of metallurgical engineer or quenching in example. Okay, let us assume 5 samples are tested for same temperature and quenching media. conditions. Okay, it means for a same condition or for a given condition, we have to perform study for 5 test samples. Okay, it means 5 replication of an experiment. The replication allows the investigator, the researcher, estimate the experimental errors. Okay, or average out the experimental errors. Okay. Now coming to a second principle, that is randomization. What is randomization? But by the term this randomization, we mean the allocation of the experimental material and the order of experiments are randomly determined. Randomization allows to averaging out the effects of extraneous factors that may present during the experimentation. Okay. And third principle, that is blocking. Blocking is used to reduce or eliminate the variability transmitted from nuisance factors. Nuisance factors are the factors that may influence the experimental outcome, but in which we are not directly interested. If we consider an example, for example, an experimental study is to be performed with 2 batches of raw material or raw materials provided by 2 different suppliers. Okay, there is a chance or there could be differences between the batches owing to supplier variability. Okay, as we are getting the work samples or work material from 2 different supplier, it means there is a chance of variability. Okay, supplier to supplier variability. This variability may affect the final outcome. Okay, and this could be managed by blocking. This could be managed by the third principle of Dewey, that is blocking, or performing experiments with a relatively homogeneous experimental conditions. It means that we have to perform the experiments with a workpiece that obtained from a single supplier. Okay, if we purchase or if we procure workpieces from 2 different suppliers, we have to distribute the experimental runs. Okay, or we have to basically perform the experimentation by preparing a blocking for single supplier 1 and second block for raw material obtained from supplier 2. So that is the concept of blocking, and these are the 3 principles of DOE technique, that is replication, randomization, and blocking. And before performing or before applying any DOE technique, design of experiment technique or experimental design technique, we must keep it in our mind these 3 principles. That replication, we have to repeat or you have to replicate the number of experiments, we have to randomize the experimentation, and third one, if there is a chance of this type of extra factor of variability, we have to follow the blocking principle. Okay, now moving on, and so although this DOE or design of experiment technique or experiment design is dealing with only the planning of experimental runs. Okay, when we talk about experimental design or design experiment, what comes in our mind? That is the plan or design of experimental runs, okay, or trial runs. But in a broad sense, this DOE or design of experiment technique comprises of pre-experimental planning, experimentation, and post-experimental analysis. Pre-experimental planning, experimentation, and post-experimental analysis. Pre-experimental planning means basically the problem formulation or problem statement, then selection of factors, ranges, and labels, selection of responses or output parameters, and finally selection of DOE technique or design of experiment technique. Okay, experiments means basically the data recording during the experimentation process or measurement of the data, or performing the calculation and quantification of different responses. And post-experimental analysis means that post-experiential analysis consists of analysis of recorded data, statistical analysis of recorded data, and drawing the conclusion and recommendation from that analysis. Okay, so although DOE means basically the planning and designing of experiments, but in a broad sense, it means pre-experimental planning, experimentation, and post-experimental analysis. Okay, so moving on, we performed some studies on electrospark erosion process and employed a DOE technique to appropriately establish this new establish the new technical findings. And now this is the time I'm going to explain the electrospark erosion technique and the process attempted in our study, and how a DOE technique is useful for drawing the different scientific conclusions. Okay, so in a present day, we are all very much familiar with this term electrospark erosion machining, and in a present day scenario, there is a boom of using electrospark erosion processes for material processing. Okay, why it is so? The reason is this technique, this unique technique, that electrospark erosion machining technique, can provide economical machining of low machinability materials. Okay, the post World War II is accompanied with development of new and non-traditional materials like stainless steel, super alloys, then ceramics, different type of ceramics, then composites like CMCs, PMCs, or MMCs, and performing machining processes, the machining operations, or maintaining close dimensional accuracy or tolerances using conventional technique are found difficult for these materials. Okay, and therefore the rapid development in the material industries is accompanied with development of new processes or new machining processes. Those are termed as advanced machining processes. So this electrospark erosion machining is a typical example of this advanced machining processes. Okay, so I'm coming to it. We are all are basically aware about the conventional thermal processes like heat treatment and welding, and heat treatment is employed for phase transformation, and welding is utilized for structural transformation. In case of heat treatment, the operating temperature lies in between melting temperature and in between recastration temperature and melting temperature, while in case of welding, the operating temperature lies within the melting temperature and vaporization temperature. Okay, so these conventional thermal processes, these are basically conventional thermal processes and having some undesirable effect, and such as higher heat consumption. These conventional thermal processes are associated with higher heat consumption, excessive thermal distortion. Okay, because why higher heat consumption? Because these processes are run for a very longer time period. Therefore, higher heat consumption, excessive thermal distortion. Second one, undesired structural transformation, and inaccuracy. Okay, so beside this thing, advanced thermal processes are emerged where high energy density pulses are employed for a very shorter duration. Okay, for material processing. Okay, and this concept, this high energy density pulses for a shorter durations, and this concept is now widely used for machining and termed as thermoelectric AMPs or thermoelectric advanced machining processes. Okay, the criteria is that the operating temperature is many times higher than the vaporization temperatures of the material. Okay, the operating temperature is many times higher than vaporization temperature. These advanced thermal processes provide few specific advantages, namely higher fixed surface temperature, first thing, then more uniform temperature distribution, greater depth of penetration of heat at the end of pulse, and more precision and accuracy, as heat is localized at a very narrow zone. Okay. Although these processes are also having few drawbacks, such as high capital investment, very high operating cost, costly tooling, and high maintenance cost. Okay. These thermoelectric MPs, or you can say these advanced thermal processes or thermal processing techniques, provides these advantages, but moreover these processes are having capability to process any material regardless to its hardness. It can process any uncanny materials, difficult to measure materials. But the problem with these thermoelectric MPs are cost, the high initial investment, very high operating cost. We need costly tooling, high cost tooling arrangement, and then high maintenance cost. And therefore a thumb line or guideline is there for employing this technique. That guideline is that we have to choose this thermoelectric MPs wisely for processing uncanny materials or processing difficult to machine materials, or to develop or generate tricky shape or complex shapes, or to maintain close dimensional accuracy if we are looking for high precision and accuracy. Okay. If not, then we are happy with our conventional techniques. Okay. So this is the thumb rule of employing thermoelectric MPs, and this should be employed only for difficult to machine materials or uncanny materials, or to develop some tricky shapes or complex shapes, as these processes are associated with high cost, high initial investment, high running cost, high maintenance cost, high tooling cost. Okay. So now coming to the different classification of these thermoelectric MPs, and different thermoelectric processes are listed along with its energy source, transfer media, and material removal. For example, EDM process. EDM stands for electric discharge machining, and the energy source is high voltage. Transfer media is dielectric. A dielectric is used. Dielectric basically dielectric behaves like an insulator in normal condition. If the potential difference of the applied voltage exceeds the breakdown voltage, it starts acting like conductor. Okay. And the method of removal of material from work surface is bombardment of electrons. Okay. Similarly, IBM is there. IBM stands for electron beam machining, and the energy source is ionized material. Transfer media is atmosphere, and sputtering ions is the method to remove the material from the work surface. Okay. So moving on, we should start our discussion with electrospark process and the physics behind this technique, or physics, the concept behind this technique. I know that many of you are well aware and know more than me about the electrospark technique, but were not indulged with this field or not much involved with the technique. For them, I am going to explain the concept of the process. Before that, please take a look of the historical perspective of the technique. Metal erosion by spark discharge was first observed by Sir Joseph Priestley in 1768. Okay. And spark discharge were used increasingly for disintegration of various metals to produce colloidal solution to remove broken taps, drills, and remulls. Although this spark discharge phenomena was observed in the year of 1768, around 1943, two Russians, D.L. Rezarenko and N.I. Rezarenko, deduced that spark discharge could be used for machining the difficult to machine new materials. Okay, although it was observed, this phenomena observed in 1768, it came into picture, it turned in the form of machining process in the year of 1943. Okay, so now coming to the process principle of the technique, and this is the schematic diagram of, you can see the schematic diagram of the electrospark process. Okay, so this is workpiece, this is tool electrode, and both the workpiece and tool are connected to a DC source. Okay, connected to a DC source, not AC source, because we have to maintain the polarity throughout the operation. Okay, any polarity can be utilized for EDM process. Any polarity, we can connect the tool to the negative pole, or we can connect to the tool to the positive pole. Okay, generally tools remains connected to the negative pole and workpiece remains connected to the positive pole of the supply for obtaining higher material removal rate than tool wear rate. If we are looking for high tool wear rate, we have to reverse the polarity. We have to change the polarity. We have to connect the tool to the positive pole positive pole of the power supply and workpiece to the negative pole of the power supply. But in normal condition, as we are mainly looking for high value of material removal rate, tool is connected to the negative pole of the power supply and workpiece is connected to the positive pole of the power supply. A gap is there. A gap is there in between tool and workpiece. To prevent the direct metal to metal contact and thus short circuiting. And this gap is flooded with proper dielectric. Okay, when a suitable voltage is built up across the tool and workpiece, an electrostatic field of sufficient strength is established, resulting in cold emission of electrons from the cathode. Okay, when voltage goes beyond the breakdown voltage of the dielectrics, electrons collide with the molecules of the dielectric fluid, breaking them into electrons and positive ions. As a result, a narrow column of ionized dielectric, a narrow column, coming to this slide, a narrow column of ionized substance, ionized dielectric fluid or ionized molecules is established at the closest spot between tool and workpiece or between anode and cathode, causes avalanche of electrons, and that is normally seen as spark. Okay, since the conductivity of the ionized column is very large, okay, this phenomena can be observed, or this avalanche can be observed. Owing to that phenomena, that conductivity of the ionized channel is very large, and owing to that, a compression shock wave is generated and very high temperature ranges up to 10,000 centigrade, 10,000 degrees centigrade is developed. Okay, and you can imagine the temperature that you can imagine the resultant temperature, that is near about 10,000 degrees centigrade. That means the resulting temperature is many times higher than the surface temperature of sun. This huge temperature causes melting and vaporization of the electrode materials. Besides, this high temperature also evaporates the dielectric. Owing to this evaporation of the dielectric, the pressure on the plasma channel rises rapidly to values as high as 200 atmosphere. Okay, and such great pressure prevent the evaporation of the superheated metal. Okay, so the concept is that these electrons are moving towards this positive pole of the workpiece, and after striking the workpiece, the kinetic energy is converted to heat energy and a huge temperature is generated at the closest spot between tool and workpiece. Okay, but and as a result, at that temperature, at that high temperature, this metal or workpiece is get melted and ready to be vaporized. But as the dielectric material or dielectric liquid get vaporized, and the pressure on the plasma channel rises rapidly to values as high as 200 atmosphere, it prevents the evaporation of this superheated metal. Okay, this EDM process performed under pulsating condition. That means each on time is followed by an off time. Okay, so during off time no power supply is there, and during off time the machine gets an relaxation period. Okay, so at the end of the pulse, at the end of the pulse, or at the end of the pulse on time, during pulse of time, okay, with entry of phase dielectric, the pressure drops suddenly and the superheated metal evaporates explosively and come out in the form of crater. Okay, so phase dielectric fluid rushes in, flushing the debris away or from the machining zone, and quenching the surface of the workpiece. Okay, the unexpelled molten metal solidifies to form that is known as recast layer. and the layer beneath the Likert layer is termed as H. Okay, the sum of the metal, owing to the formation of high temperature, owing to the formation of high heat, the metal or workpiece is melted and vaporized, and during the off time, the sum of the amount or sum of the metal is evaporated, or some of the metal is come out in the form of Keter, but rest of the metal, owing to the fresh electrolyte supply, the unexpected molten metal solidifies again and form recast layer. Recast means re-solidified layer or recast layer. Okay, and the layer beneath this recast layer is known as or termed as heat affected zone, okay, or HAZ. So these are busy slides. Just these are busy slides explaining the concept of process principle. I'm just keeping this thing. So an electrolyte or electrospark system, or to be specific EDM setup, consists of four major sub elements, namely power supply unit, dielectric system, servo system, and tool electrode system. And the power supply system, the main function of this power supply system to supply the pulse DC supply across the tool workpiece gap. The dielectric system to provide the flow of dielectric at the desired pressure and flow rate, and to recirculate the dielectric and to remove the metal debris from the machining zone. Okay. The servo system is used or is employed to maintain the constant tool workpiece gap during the operation. And finally, the tool electrode, and it is used, this tool electrode is the approximate replica of the shape to be produced in the workpiece process. This EDM process is also termed as copy paste process. It means we can replicate the shape of the tool on the workpiece. We can copy and paste the shape of the tool on the workpiece. So tool electrode, that is basically the replica of the shape to be produced in the workpiece. So moving on, this is another busy slide and illustrating the different essential features of a dielectric system. Okay, so generally hydrocarbon oils, kerosenes, silicon based oils, or deionized water are etc. used as dielectric, and that normally these dielectric are supplied or basically under flood condition, but supplying the dielectric in the form of mist is a recent trend. Okay, so now researchers are also tried the mist supply of dielectric to get to minimize the cost of dielectric flow, or to get a better output or get better outcome. Okay, so moving on, servo system, next element of the EDM process or EDM setup. This servo system is employed to maintain the predetermined tool workpiece gap. The gap is sensed through the average voltage across it, and this voltage is compared with a preset value, and the difference is used to control the servo motor. Okay, the efficiency or the performance of this servo system depends largely on the dielectric flushing system. For example, if the flushing system is not appropriate one, the tiny metal pieces may be remain at the gap, and it may change the average potential difference between tool and workpiece. Suppose a tiny metal piece remain at the gap in between tool and workpiece, and that metal piece will be considered as new workpiece material or new surface of workpiece material, and as a result, that will change the potential difference between tool and workpiece, and that will control the movement of the servo system, and therefore the efficiency or performance of servo system greatly relies on the function of flushing system or dielectric system. Okay, so this is an alternative stepper motor. So basically, stepper motor can be employed in place of a servo system. This is basically a cost-effective option. If we wish to develop a EDM setup in-house, we can go for stepper motor to make the setup cost-effective, but in expense of accuracy. because servo system is associated with a closed loop system or feedback system. So if we are looking for high accuracy or high precision, we should go for servo system. But if we're looking for cost, if we are looking for a cost effective option, we can go for stepper motor to maintain that tool workpiece gap. Okay. Now coming to the tool electrode. In case of EDM process, form tool is used to develop the final shape. Okay. Therefore, tool material must have these properties: this high electrical conductivity, thermal conductivity, high melting temperature to minimize the tool wear rate, easier manufacturability so that we can easily convert this, we can easily generate the shape on the tool. Okay, and finally the cheapness or cost effectiveness or easily availability. And this tool electrode material, the selection criteria of this tool electrode material are based on this MRR. It means the tool material must provide high value of MRR. Wear ratio, that means it must provide high value of MRR, wear ratio, MRR to ratio of MRR and TWR. Ease of shaping, that is the easy formability, and cost and availability. Here is a list of tool material which can be used in case of EDM process, namely copper, brass, copper tungsten, copper boron, chromium copper, aluminum alloy, silver tungsten, or steel. Okay. Graphite, being a non-metallic, can be used as tool material because this is also conductive in nature. So any conductive material can be used as tool material in case of EDM process. No need to think about whether it is metallic or non-metallic in nature. Now coming to the process capability of EDM, and this is another busy slide. I am not going into the details of it. You may use this data as your references, and like drilling capabilities of EDM, like this aspect also can be achieved by EDM process. Okay, that amount of hole depth can be achieved in case of drilling capabilities. Now coming to the cutting capabilities, these are the cutting capabilities of EDM process. Now coming to the finishing capabilities, this is the surface roughness parameter, surface roughness that can be achieved by EDM process. Here I wish to share that this EDM process, in case of EDM process, metal or workpiece metal is removed in the form of tatter. Okay, if we check the EDM surface under, microscope, you can find this type of pores on the top surface of the workpiece. Okay, as metal is removed in the form of tatters, and therefore the surface finish or surface quality is not up to the mark in case of EDM or any electrosparculation machining process. Okay, from here you can see that the higher value of metal surface roughness is 12.5 micron. It means it is many times higher than the common turning or conventional turning process. In case of turning process, the surface roughness lies in the range of 2 to 4 micron, but in case of EDM it reaches up to 12.5 microns. So you can understand, or you can understand the concept of this EDM process, that this process is not good for surface quality, and the surface quality achieved by this technique is not up to the mark. Okay, so this EDM process can be employed to process the difficult to machine materials or difficult to process materials, uncanny materials, or to generate difficult or tricky or complex shapes. But we have to go for any secondary finishing process if we are looking for good surface quality on the developed product. This is the problem with EDM process, that EDM never provide better surface finish. Okay, some economical aspects are highlighted here, and environmental aspects: no toxicity, normal problem, no safety issues, no contamination of missing medium. Now coming to the application part, these are the material application. Any conducting material regardless its hardness can be processed by EDM process, and these are the shape application or feature application. This type of feature, a list of features that can be generated by EDM process, like 2D profiling, 3D contouring, stamping of tool dies, making blind complex cavities, drilling of various hole shapes, micro holes, inclined holes, through cutting non-circular holes or cutting of narrow slots, okay, producing nanoshells that can be performed on EDM. So after discussing the concept of EDM or electrospark machining, I'm just coming to a question. The question is, if both electrodes are made of the same material, both electrodes are the same material, that means tool and workpiece are made of same material, then which electrode erodes faster? And the answer is the positive electrode. The reason is that the momentum with which stream of electrons strikes the anode is much more than that due to the stream of positive ions impinging on the cathode. Okay, so the momentum of the electron strikes the anode is much more than the positive ions strike the cathode. Besides this, another phenomena is that protects the tool workpiece or protects the tool surface from being further, or protects the negative electrode from being further removed by electrospark erosion, and that concept is known as pyrolysis. What is pyrolysis? Basically, pyrolysis of dielectric fluid, in normally hydrocarbon is used as dielectric fluid that creates a thin film of carbon on the cathode, or a thin film of carbide on the cathode. That carbide layer protects the tool surface, or negative electrode surface being further removed by electrospark erosion technique. Okay, so that's why if we are looking for higher value of MRR, we have to make the workpiece as positive electrode, because most of the material or most of the metal is removed from the positive electrode, not from the negative electrode. So if you are looking for high MRR, our workpiece should be positive electrode. If you are looking for high value of TWR, we have to change the workpiece as negative electrode. Okay, so these two phenomena are there that are basically these are major player in deciding the material removal from electrodes. Okay, so now coming to the new technique, that is electric discharge coating, and there is an extended application of EDM process. And before that, I wish to say that in recent years, surface modification techniques attain a special attention from researchers. Surface modification means change of mechanical or chemical behavior of work surface. So many surface modification techniques such as are there, such as PVD or CVD, sol-gel method, but these processes need costly dedicated equipments. In contrast, the die tool industry is looking for a surface modification technique to change behavior of work surface without adding a single penny. Okay, and the most commonly available machine to die tool industry is EDM. So it is tried to exploit the benefit of this film formation technology or film formation concept to modify the work surface, and the outcome is termed as EDC or electro discharge coating. Okay, so in case of EDM, during our discussion of EDM, we discussed that a film is formed, a carbide layer is formed on the negative electrode during the electrospark erosion process, and that concept, that unique features is employed to produce a coat or produce a hard layer on the workpiece. Okay, so that concept is termed as electro discharge coating. Okay, so it means we are already basically we are employing a already available setup. We are already having EDM setup, and now we are employing this setup to develop a coat or develop a hard carbide layer on the work surface to make the workpiece corrosion resistance, to make the workpiece wall resistance, to improve the hardness of the outer layer. Okay, so this study, we performed some experimental work on this electrodischarge coating, and a DOE technique is employed or tried to get a better for better planning of this study. And after that, these two publication has been obtained from a MTech level work. Okay, so and this presentation or these slides are prepared from these two papers only, the two publications only. One is published in Machining Science and Technology, and another one is published in International Journal of Surface Science Engineering. Both are SCA. So I'm directly coming to the schematic diagram or the process principle of this technique. And this is the schematic diagram that depicting the process principle of EDC or electric discharge coating. The concept was proposed by Wang et al. In the year of 2002. Okay, in his study, it is proposed that the kerosene was used as dielectric of the EDM process, and using kerosene as dielectric, the TI, the titanium or tungsten or other metallic materials are used for surface modification. Okay, so TI or W, tungsten, titanium or tungsten are used as tool electrode, and refined soft material like mild steel or aluminum is used as workpiece material. And this electrode is connected to the positive pole, while workpiece is connected to the negative pole of the power supply. The polarity is reverse of EDM process. Okay, and by pyrolysis effect and by the electrodischarge erosion, a hard carbide layer is formed on the workpiece surface. A hard carbide layer is formed on the workpiece surface. So in EDC, coating of high carbide on workpiece surface has been produced through the chemical reaction between the transfer material of the tool electrode and the carbon particles decomposed from the kerosene fluid under high temperature. Okay, so this is the chemical, this is the transfer material from the tool electrode, and it reacts with the carbon decomposed from the dielectric, and as a result, after forming TIC or WC, titanium carbide or tungsten carbide, a carbide layer is formed or piled up on the workpiece surface. Okay, and this carbide layer is piled on the surface and become a hard layer in several minutes, and thus obtaining the desired characteristic of the workpiece surface. Okay, now directly coming to our experimental findings or experimental plan. These are the various steps we followed during the experimental investigation. And experimentation start with workpiece selection, and then it is followed by tool fabrication, parameter selection, experiments, sample preparation, and testing. So coming to the workpiece selection, so aluminum alloy of 20 mm, 20 mm, and 5 mm has been selected as the workpiece material due to its commercial and industrial importance in aerospace, transportation, and automotive industries. Surface modification of aluminum alloy using hard material like titanium improves the crack resistance property, wear resistance property, and corrosion resistance property, and thus the lifespan of the workpiece material. Corrosion resistance property is not a problem for aluminum alloy because aluminum is having the better corrosion resistance property. But if we consider mild steel as workpiece material, then this phenomena is really a more vital phenomena. This phenomena, this corrosion resistance property, can be considered as a vital phenomena or vital feature. Okay, and the elemental analysis of the workpiece material was also performed, and it is presented here. And this is the chemical analysis we obtained for our workpiece material. So next, coming to the next part, that is tool fabrication, and this is basically a tricky one in case of EDC process, and it is time consuming. It is bit time consuming in case of EDC process. In case of EDC process, the concept is that we have to fetch out the material from the tool electrode, and after fetching out the tool electrode material, we have to form the a reaction has to be occurred with carbon, with the decomposed carbon and tool electrode material, and after that carbide layer, after that resultant of that reaction, that is carbide, should be deposited on the workpiece surface. Okay, it means the tool electrode material should be come out easily during the operation process. If we are looking for a high value of deposition or high values of deposition thickness or deposited layer thickness on the workpiece, and therefore this tool is fabricated through powder metallurgy route, not from casting or wrought route. Okay, as we have to minimize the compaction, we have to minimize the binding of tool electrode material, we have to go for powder metallurgy route to develop the tool. So what was the procedure? Titanium carbide and copper powder of mesh size 325 were chosen as material of tool electrode to realize the coating process of the workpiece surface. After getting this titanium carbide and copper powder of mesh size 325, the green compact tool electrodes were prepared by powder metallurgy route using 12 mm die and punch assembly. Okay, after getting the green compact tool electrode, we have to, this green compact tool electrode were attached to the steel rods with the help of an electrically conductive adhesive for correct positioning during the EDC process. So basically, this type of green compact tool electrode is prepared. If we consider the side view or front view, this type of green compact tool electrode are prepared, and after getting the green compact tool electrode, we have to attach this tool electrode with a steel rod. Okay, we have to attach this green compact tool electrode to the steel rod. This steel rod will be used to hold the tool inside the EDM setup. Okay, and this attachment is done through or done using a electrically conductive adhesive. Okay, this is basically adhesive joint. Okay, an electrically conductive adhesive is used to maintain the conductivity of the tool electrode. Okay, so after fabrication of the tool electrode, next is parameter selection, and these are the parameter we choose to study. This is electrode polarity, that means the polarity of the workpiece material. Okay, then coating time, how much time is essential or how much time is needed to complete the coating process. Then peak current, pulse on time, then electrode composition. This is 50%, 60%, 70%. Electrode composition means composition, the ratio of titanium carbide and copper powder. 50%, 60%, 70% means 50% of titanium carbide powder, 60% titanium carbide powder, and 70% carbide powder. As the titanium carbide, the percentage of titanium carbide powder increases, the amount of copper powder decreases. So 50% means 50-50 titanium carbide and copper, 60% means 60% titanium carbide, 40% copper powder, and 70 means 70-30. Okay, and then compaction pressure. This compaction pressure is the basically pressure used to fabricate the powder green compact tool electrode. 200 megapascal, 300 megapascal, and 400 megapascal. If we increase the compaction pressure, the porosity of the green compact tool electrode will be reduced. Okay, after parameter selection, coming to the experimental part, and the study or this experimental investigation was performed in 3 phases basically: pilot experiments, main experiments, and confirmation experiments. Pilot experiments are performed to fix the less significant factors and to identify the ranges and levels of factors. Those are to be varied during the main experiments. Main experiments are executed to evaluate the effect of process variables on responses. And finally, confirmation experiments are performed or executed to validate the analytical study. Okay, so in our research work, in this research work, the pilot experiment was performed to fix the electrode polarity and coating time for main experiment. Electrode polarity and coating time for main experiment, and also to fix the ranges and levels of peak current, pulse on time, electrode composition, and compaction pressure. If we get back to the this parameter selection table, these two parameters are fixed on the basis of pilot experiments, while these parameters, the ranges and levels, are also fixed for of these parameters for main experiments, and these parameters are studied through main experiments, or the effect of these parameters on responses are studied through main experiments. Let's back to the slide. And main experiments are performed to scrutinizing the effect of peak current, pulse on time, electrode composition, compaction pressure on response parameter. In our study, surface roughness, deposited layer thickness, and micro hardness were used as response parameter. After main experiments, recorded data was analyzed for analysis of variance to check the suitability of the recorded data and contribution of individual factor. Furthermore, this is also called as ANOVA in short. Okay. Furthermore, optimization and modeling were performed to develop an empirical model for providing a guideline for probable users of the technique. After that confirmation experiment was performed with optimal parametric set for adequacy checking of developed empirical models and calculating percentage error in prediction. Okay, so these pilot experiments were performed on the basis of OFAT, that means one factor at a time approach. It means the electrode polarity and coating time was varied one by one, where other factors like peak current or pulse on time, electrode composition, compaction pressure were kept constant at its baseline or base level. Okay, the main experiments were conducted as per Box-Mencken design of response surface methodology. And I know this thing that Professor House has already discussed about response surface methodology, and therefore not going into the details of it. I'm just going to give you a brief idea of the method, and here it is. This response surface methodology is basically a collection of mathematical and statistical techniques, and it is really useful for modeling and analysis of problem in which a response is influenced by several variables. Okay, so and the motto is to optimize the responses. So this is the response surface, and that is affected by this two factors like temperature and pressure. Okay, so from this plot and this type of this surface plot, this response surface plot, we can easily predict from where we get the maximum value for yield. Okay, this process, this response surface methodology also allows to fit a quadratic equation, and that this type of quadratic equation, and that can be employed to predict the yield. The main beauty of this response surface methodology technique is the sequential nature that comprises of screening the factor, then finding the optimal region, and then modeling and optimization of responses. Okay, so if we try suppose for the other design of experiment technique are there like Taguchi method, but Taguchi method only provide the optimized values. Okay, not the modeling or not the empirical models. For empirical models, after Taguchi technique, we have to go for regression fit or regression fitting to get the empirical models. But in case of response surface methodology, the response surface methodology is associated with optimization and modeling of response, and that can provide an empirical model that can be used and employed for prediction purpose or to select the parametric range for further study. Okay, so generally three approaches are employed to fit a quadratic model in case of response surface methodology, and these are namely central composite design, also termed as CCD, then box Benken design, that is BBD, and FCD, that is face central design. In our study or our research work, this box Benken design approach was employed to perform the experimentation or performed for planning the experimental runs. What is box Benken design? Box Benken design basically is one of, you can say this is one of the best three level designs for small number of runs, and all points are on the distance of root 2, that is 0.707 from the center. No points at the vertices, pointer on the mid of the edges, pointer on the mid of the edges. For example, this is, so let's say this is x-axis, this is y-axis, and this is z-axis. So a cube is formed, and experimental runs, the coordinate of this coordinate of these points are basically the combination, the parametric combination for an experimental run. So no points at the vertices, points are on the mid of the edges, and it is either rotatable or nearly rotatable. Let's move to the experimental outcomes. So after planning the experimental runs using BBD approach, four factors were used. Four factors, to get back to this parameter selection, these four factors were employed, and these four factors were varied, each at 3 level. So total 29 experimental runs were performed, including 5 replication of the central runs. Okay, and after recording the experimental outcome, we perform the analysis, we perform the analysis of variance, we perform the modeling and optimization, and to explore the effect of these parameters on the responses. And so these are the effect of the factors on the responses. Here it is. This slide is presenting the effect of process variables on deposited layer thickness, and it is very apparent from this diagram, from this slide, that deposited layer thickness increases with increasing peak current, pulse on time, and electrode composition, while reverse effect is observed, reverse phenomena is observed for compaction pressure. Why is it so? I'm just coming to it. Peak current helps in initiating the electric spark and obtaining the spark temperature to deposit the tool electrode material on workpiece surface, and hence higher the peak current, higher would be the deposition rate. In EDC process or electric discharge coating process, the deposition of tool electrode material occurs during on time, and therefore the duration of pulse, that is pulse on time, is very important measuring parameter. In EDC, amount of tool electrode material deposition is directly proportional to the amount of energy applied during on time, and which is controlled by the peak current and the duration of pulses. Okay, with longer pulse duration, more amount of material will be melted away from the tool electrode and deposited on workpiece surface. In this study, mixture of Ti and copper, titanium copper, was used as electrode material. Copper powder was used with Ti to provide a good binding property to the TiC particles. And powder was used with as the percentage of Ti increases in the TiCu mixture, the compactness of the tool electrodes reduces, and the tool electrode material is more ready to be deposited on workpiece surface. Powder compaction is the process of compacting metal powder in a die through the application of high pressure. The density of the compact powder is directly proportional to the amount of pressure applied. In the present study, powder metallurgy TiCu green compact tool electrode is used, and the amount of tool electrode material deposited to workpiece surface during EDC process greatly relies on the density of the tool electrode material. Therefore, if we increase the density or compactness of the tool electrode material, it will result in decreasing the amount of tool electrode material melted away during EDC process. Okay. Now coming to the next response, that is the effect of on surface roughness. The surface quality deteriorates with increasing deposited layer thickness, and similar trend is observed for that's why similar trend is observed for surface roughness. Now coming to the third response parameter, that is microhardness, and here you can see the effect of process variable on microhardness. Carbide layer is piled up on the work sample during the deposition process, and hence the microhardness increases with increasing deposited layer thickness. Okay, and therefore similar trend is observed for microhardness. Okay, if the deposited layer thickness increases, the microhardness will be automatically increased. In our study, the interaction effects were also observed, and here you can see the interaction effect of pulse on time and peak current on deposited layer thickness. The amount spark erosion relies on the amount of electric charge, which is a factor of peak current and duty cycle, or you can say pulse on time. Therefore, with increasing peak current and pulse on time, the amount of spark erosion increases, and it results in increasing deposited layer thickness. Okay. This is the interaction effect of compact pressure and peak current on deposited layer thickness. Similarly, interaction effect of peak current and electrode composition on microhardness was identified. Higher value was obtained for microhardness at higher value of both the input parameter. Okay. This is the higher values or highest value of microhardness. It can obtain for higher value of peak current and higher value of electrode composition. Here you can see the developed empirical models, and these models can be employed for predicting the responses, and it is guideline for probable users of this technique in deciding the process variables. These variables: surface roughness, deposited layer thickness, and microhardness. Now coming to the pictorial view of the developed tool and coating process of the workpiece. Here you can see the top view of the fabricated PM tool or powder metallurgy tool, and this is the photographic view of the workpiece or electrodischarge coated work sample. This is the coating. This is the developed coated material. This is the carbide layer formed on the workpiece surface, and this is the rest of the part is base metal. After this experimentation, we move for sample preparation for further analysis of the developed coating, and the study contains a comprehensive sample preparation technique. And it starts with cutting of work sample into two pieces to the middle of the coating in the transverse direction. We should also reveal the metal transfer. Okay, a diamond wire saw with mean diameter of the wire that is 0.5 mm is employed for this purpose, and then it is followed by embedding of work sample in a bakelite mold for exposing the section area to prevent the rounding of edges during polishing of the work sample. So we cut this work sample in the transverse direction in this direction, okay, for further processing or further analysis. Okay, after embedding the work surface, we the grinding and polishing process was followed. Okay, for followed to explore the microstructures. Okay, so grinding was followed, grinding of sample with the 120,000 mesh size SiC grinding disc, and then polishing of the groundwork sample with water-based diamond solution with diamond size ranging from 9 micron to 1 micron. Okay, after polishing, the electro polishing method is followed. Okay, that is done by SiO2 based agent having a particle size of 0.05 micron. And finally, etching of work sample is etched with 2% HF solution for few seconds for better visibility of the microstructure or better visibility of grains and grain boundaries. After sample preparation, the deposited layer thickness is measured on an optical microscope at a regular interval of 150 micron, where average value and standard deviation of the measurement results were calculated. The work sample prepared for the layer thickness measurement is also used for microhardness measurement, and the microhardness is measured in the Fischer-Scope SU microhardness control unit under loading condition of 200 into 10 to the power minus 3 Newton load for 20 seconds. Now coming to the outcome of this metallurgical testing, and here you can see the optical micrograph of the deposited layer. It indicates a uniform or continuous layer of TIC deposited over the workpiece surface. This is the deposited layer, and this is base metal. EDX analysis was also performed for elemental analysis of the deposited layer, and presence of TEI and CU is observed. If we check the if we perform the elemental analysis of the deposited layer, the elemental analysis was performed for this part, and it shows that high value of TI, presence of TI and CU on that layer. The hardness value of the deposited surface layer was also performed or also investigated, and it is observed that the hardness value of the deposited surface layer is substantially higher than that of aluminum. If we check the value, this is the hardness value of the deposited layer, while the hardness of base matrix or aluminum is around 140 to 155 HB. It can be seen that even the lowest hardness value of the deposited layer found during the experimentation is to 6 to 7 times higher than that of the base metal. The variation of this micro hardness from the outer surface to our core is in decreasing order, and it is presented here. Here you can say, as the distance from surface or outer surface increases, or this is the distance from the outer surface, as it increases, the micro hardness value decreases. Okay. The microstructure of workpiece surface has been studied by scanning electron microscope or SEM to study the TIC distribution profile for a cross-sectional in composite layer, and here it is presented. You can see same micrograph showing the TIC morphology of the cross-section of deposited layer at distance of 20 micron from outer surface, 20 mm from outer surface, and this is 50 mm from the surface. So here you can see a complete or uniform deposited layer is there on the workpiece surface, but here this part, up to this part, deposited layer is there, but this is base metal, no deposit layer is here. Okay. Now coming to the future scope. This technique, this EDC technique, is a very practical technology having good prospect in various industrial applications, because the process is economic and does not need special equipment. Okay, but this process is in infancy stage and plenty of scope of research is there. Variation in metal powder, mesh size, and workpiece material that may affect the final outcome. Study of typological and corrosional behavior of deposited layer needs proper attention. Further, the commercialization of process. Beside this, we perform this study with an application of a design of experiment technique, but other optimization technique or new nature-oriented optimization technique like GA or NN modeling, like modern technique like NN, can be employed for better modeling of the process. So we are already running out of time, so I'm not going into details of this wire electric discharge machining. And now I'm directly coming to the question and answer session. I will share this PPT, no problem with that. You just go through this thing. I'm directly coming to our outcome, and we perform this WDM process, and we apply the DOE technique to develop a miniature component like this impeller or this gear, and study the performance of these gears or impellers. And here it is. This is the noise testing data of developed miniature gear, and it is observed that this WDM provides a better noise property. WDM provides better noise property than milling and shaper. So these are the BG slide, just go through it. I'm not going into details of it. So thank you, and please, any query, any doubt, I'm here to respond. I am here to answer it. Thank you so much.
Sir, good afternoon. My name is Anshuman Kumar here.
Yes.
Sir,
Afternoon.
my voice is audible to everyone.
Yeah, it is audible. No issue.
Yeah, yes, sir. Yes, sir. Thank you, sir. Thank you, coordinator, to giving me the permission to ask some question to our expert today. So, sir, my question is that, sir, you have told already over in your slide that whatever that dielectric we are using is a non-conductive.
Yeah.
Sir, but the thing is that many of the paper we have seen that they are increasing that conductivity of the dielectric, and they're using the machine and they're getting the good results. Sir, my question is that, sir, what is that? Is it possibility means? What is that conductivity range we can increase or decrease, sir? That is my questions.
No, you are asking for my study EDC or EDM?
Sir, I'm talking about that EDM, sir, EDM only.
Okay, EDM
Sir,
process.
actually, it is not related to what is the work you have shown over here, but this is
Okay.
my concern about to know about the dielectric conductivity. So everywhere we have heard about that one. So we are using conductivity as zero. Whatever the dielectric we are using, there is a non-conductivity. But
Yeah.
some of the paper of which I have seen that one, they are increasing that conductivity and they are starting machining, and they are getting the good result, whatever the result they are using in that non-conductive. So like that, sir, could you can you put some answer over here, so we have to get clarity over this.
No. Actually, the issue is that the main purpose of dielectric. If we check the purpose of dielectric or function of dielectric is that it should initially behave like a insulator, but if there is a potential difference, sufficient potential difference, it must start acting like conductor. Okay, that is the concept of dielectric. But
Sir,
in normal process, either kerosene or deionized water is used as dielectric. But nowadays, basically some metallic nano powder is mixed with dielectric to improve the conductivity to get better results. Okay, this is the process.
yes, sir.
This is a new trend, but it is really difficult to predict without conducting the experiments. No range or no nothing is there. We have to perform the trial and experiment run or trial runs for getting the outcome.
So, sir, if we have to increase that conductivity, is it there possibility to it will not get much spark, or it will be that elect means current will get flow in that machine also. So is it possible for that also?
No. We have to because if there is a dielectric flow, and dielectric is basically conducting, we defined of conductive powders is mixed with dielectric. Am I audible?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. You are audible, sir.
Oh, okay. If we mix some nano powders or conductive powders with dielectric to improve the conductivity of the dielectric, then the main function or main control to be done by the servo system. Okay, then we have to maintain the gap between tool and workpiece gap.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Okay.
Sir, that is the things I have already read it out from your slide. Whatever the things are there.
Yes.
Only the things is that is it feasible things are there, so conductivity increase or decreasing the things, and we are getting that.
Is it feasible? And researchers are now trying this thing. Okay, by in place of, for example, in place of dielectric deionized water, we mix some nano powders, metallic nano powders with deionized water for getting better outcome. We are doing this thing, no issue with that. We are also trying that in case of dielectric fluid, also go for mist in the mist process. Basically, we are employing mist in place of flood supply. This is also going on. So
Okay. Thank you so much, sir, for your kind information regard this one. So I was very much confused about that one. So many of that interview I have faced that one. What are the conductivity of the dielectric is there? So some of that they are asking about that conductivity is zero, but some of where I have read it out that conductivity is not always zero. So it may be vary. So that is
it
that
may
my
vary.
query was that.
No
Okay.
issue with
Okay.
that.
Thank you so much, sir. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Hello, sir. Good afternoon, sir.
Good afternoon.
Sir, this is Dr. Vijay Kumar.
Yes.
Sir, regarding the factorial techniques, how do you difference the factorial techniques and the response surface methodology?
Factorial technique and response surface methodology.
Methodology, surface reference methodology is there, na, sir, for optimization of the parameters.
Actually, response surface methodology, in case of response surface methodology, you know, the methodology is to develop a response surface or response model, okay, to predict the response in terms of different parametric value, in different input value. Besides, during this response surface methodology, we also tried like BBD, CCD, or FCD to design the runs or to plan the runs. Okay. So basically, this BBD, CCD, and FCD are basically design of DOE technique, okay, employed during response surface methodology, and those are fractional factorial study, fractional factorial approach, not full factorial approach. Okay. So concept is that if we consider the factorial experiment, it means we vary 2 or more than 2 parameters at a time, not one factor at a time. Okay, that is the concept of factorial experiment. It may be full factorial, may be fractional factorial. The BBD, CCD, and FCD are basically fractional factorial, not full factorial. It means in case of BBD, CCD, or FCD, a subset of experiments are attempted, not full set or not the full possible combinations.
Hello. Sir,
Hello.
Okay, sir. Thank you. And one more thing is, and
Yes.
what is the significance of the t-test?
Significance of test, just go through any Google, just it is available there. No issue with that. Just go through any book, any statistical book, or any, just Google it, you can get it. No issue. I think.
Okay, sir. Thank you.